Hi,
Hi.
we're Andy and Judy Piercy. I'm the Director of Worship at Holy Trinity Hounslow,
He can just about remember where it is at the moment, but
in,
there you go.
in case anybody doesn't know. And Stu and Susie have asked us if we speak about our marriage for a bit. And, well, presumably only because we've been married so long.
So long. It's 43 years in July.
It doesn't seem a day too long.
Oh, right, yeah. How we've made it that way.
Well, that's true. Well, maybe we should talk about that.
This has taken a lot of thought.
I was thinking that's probably people were wondering, looking at you, how come you've been married for 43 years when you only look 35?
Oh, you're so charming. That's why we've been married this long.
Now, what importance is faith in our marriage? I think it's a huge thing because right from the beginning in our marriage, God has been central to our marriage. We were both Christians when we were married, but even so, that we felt we've given over the whole of our lives in our marriage to God, and not just in ministry area, but like for Him to do what He wants with. And there's a promise given us, wasn't there, in our wedding, babe?
The text from Ecclesiastes 4 that talks about a 3-strand cord being stronger than a 2-strand cord.
Yeah, not easily broken.
Not easily broken, yeah. And that really hit with us because, to be honest, I tried it out. And it's true. If you try to break something with 3 strands in, so it was like, well, what's the 3rd strand in our marriage? And we've always thought that the 1st strand actually was God and that the Lord, and we thought, the other 2 strands were us. And we've tried, not always successfully, but we've tried really hard to make sure that we ran our married life with that 3rd strand in our marriage.
Yeah, which and not just in times of emergency, although
that was generally when
we that's usually when
that's
usually when we're good at praying together.
Yeah, if we're really honest,
we're not very good at the disciplined time of quiet time together. But just in general, having God as central to our marriage and our family, and allowing Him free reign in there. So I think, and we've seen that in times.
Yeah, and in decisions and in conversations, I think, with the kids and between ourselves, He was always there.
Yeah, because one of the things I was thinking about, people might think the secret for a long marriage, well, it's lots of years, but they might think the secret for a long marriage is no problems, plenty of finance, everything going really well. We've had a catalogue of problems. We've had times we've had no money. We've times we've had no home.
Yeah,
haven't we?
Yeah.
Not through circumstances our own making.
No job.
Yeah, no job. Absolute catastrophes, really, sort of coming through, and people forget that. But we've seen God at work in those times. It's funny thing is looking back on it, isn't we? See, because at the time you're thinking, where are you, Lord? What's going on? How are you going to get us out of this? But looking back, you see God's faithfulness and working in us and in our families. I think there was a friend of mine said something really interesting that's made sense of it for me one time when he talks about God's not really interested in what we do for Him. I mean, He gives us jobs to do. But the point of giving Him jobs to do and circumstances to go through is because He wants to form us into the likeness of His Son. That's the point of it. It's not so we can achieve something for Him. That really registered with me. Yeah. We've seen in our lives that God has formed our characters through that.
And that it's a journey, and that it's something that you develop and grow. You don't suddenly get it because you're doing something very spiritual. I think that's important too.
I think it's a good thing. I mean, that's right. We say these things where we've seen God at work in our lives is not because we're super spiritual people, but we've allowed God in. That's always been a principle we've had. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that.
That and friends. Well, we've made friends. It's forming those relationships.
We've formed friends from in each church we've been into that have stayed with us since. And
but Alice was talking about that last week, wasn't it? No, the week before last. Alice spoke.
Yeah, about how you need to rely on have friends, Christian friends around you as well. And I would say that we've had Christian friends who've supported us because they've listened to the Lord about us. And that's always been a delight, isn't it, for us to hear the Lord's told us that you've got an issue or something, can we help? And it's like, wow.
Well, Richard and Christine last week, Susie's mum and dad, spoke about the uniqueness of each marriage. I think it's important that they talked about the issues and some of the complications they've had in their lives, and there's things we've had that we've been put through, and they can be different for us than for you guys, all out there. There's different things, but seeing where God is in those situations and saying, "Well, God, what are you? Where are you in this? What are you speaking to us about? What is it you want us to know when we're going through these struggles?" It's not something God puts you through as a punishment, but God uses those things to form a strength in you, and you say, "Well, Lord, what are you doing here? What are you doing?"
And I think it's important. I think Christine was talking about that as well. It's not about being a martyr. Even if you've got a Martha type personality where you love to serve, it's not about being a martyr. That's very different. And so it's really important that you communicate, that you talk to people, and that you talk to each other when you're struggling, and what it is that's bothering you.
Well, that's a good thing, because there was a time, especially when I was in a band, I'd either be away all the time or travelling, or when I was home I was so tired from being on tour that I wasn't. Well,
home was a refuge for you.
It was, but it wasn't much help to you, and
No.
you kind of resented that for a while, didn't you?
Hugely.
But there was one time made a difference, was it? Something
Well,
your mum
I
said,
think my mum pointed out, we were talking about Proverbs, I think it's 29, when it talks about what a wife should be, and basically it says, you have to be up at the crack of dawn and your light's still on at night and all these things, and you do all this stuff, and you're at the gate of the city, selling stuff and supporting the family. But then it says, and when you do these things, that your husband and those around you will rise up and say you're blessed. And I realised that what she was saying was, don't resent going in and doing all this stuff, the Martha type syndrome, and resenting it is not what it should be. But go in as a sort of sacrifice service thing. And when I changed my attitude and started jumping up to make the coffee at the end of the meal, all those sort of things, and doing the washing up at midnight, suddenly it was really quite quick. You noticed that, and he blessed me, and the relationship changed.
You didn't become the servant, no?
No, because then he would say, "Look, I'll do it for you." He noticed. And that was a really pivotal point in our marriage, and I have to keep reminding myself, because that's a road I would go down quite quickly if I thought I was doing everything.
Actually reminded me of the reading last week was the man being the head of the house. That's one of your favourite quotes from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. What's that one? What does it say?
It says that the man is the head of the house, but the woman is the neck. And she changes the way the man looks. I thought, yeah, that describes our marriage.
I think it's a good combination there. Actually, it reminded me, I heard someone talking about once, what's the secret for a house of marriage? What's the secret for a long marriage? You married a long time. He said, well, at the beginning my wife and I decided that as the husband, I will make all the big decisions, and my wife will make all the small decisions. And so far, there haven't been any big decisions, so it's worked out quite well.
So that's not to be flippant about it, but actually that has been amazing, because we're both very strong personalities, and you've always promised me that you would never step on who I am and change what I am.
I still believe that.
Yeah.
I never want to hold you back whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have a good combination, because Judy's a dreamer. That doesn't mean she lives her head in the clouds. She's a dreamer of dreams. She made things happen. The trouble is, I'm a drifter, but it's quite a good combination between the two of us. She makes things happen, and I just tag along behind her. So.
Unless he disagrees, and that's fine.
But what do we do to keep our marriage? Any tips we have to keep our marriage? Say, I don't know. Just keep going. Don't stop.
We do. I think, Andy, we do eventually talk about stuff.
We talk about stuff. We laugh at the same things. That helps.
I do. We do actually enjoy each other's company. So most of the time.
We're not very disciplined on the regime, though, are we? Really? So.
Yeah, but I think the Lord is so much part of each of us that it's there in every discussion, really.
Yeah. I think it's built around the Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, put God central to you, God and Jesus central to what you're trying to do. Not just in times of emergency, not to just bail you out, but to make yourself available, make your marriage available to Him.
And don't stew on stuff. Don't be martyresque or martyrish. I
It's
don't know what the
unfortunate
word
the word
is.
stew, isn't it? Really?
It is really.
You don't mean that,
But
do
no, I do. I do mean that
Oh.
don't think about it all the time without talking about it. It really matters.
That was a big thing.
That
We
you
we
discuss.
we set that early in our marriage, not letting the sun go down
Yeah,
on
we
your
like that quote,
on your
don't we?
righteous.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean stay up late and argue. That means get it.
Sorry. Doesn't mean stay up
No,
late and argue.
that means get it dealt with.
So,
Okay.
I don't know if anything that's helpful.
I think the other thing. So big tips for a long, successful marriage: get married early and live as long as you can.